Welcome to the Female VC Lab podcast. I have Mike here. Mike, in one line, give me your name, your title, and your area of impact or expertise.
Sure. So thanks for having me. Mike Dinsdale. I'm a venture investor. I was an operator for 20 years before focusing on that, and I invest across a bunch of different verticals, but all around technology.
Wonderful. So what inspired you to become a technology investor? What was the motivation of that for you?
I think it goes back to when I was a kid, always being interested in trying to understand how the world works and how we can make it better and how you can be involved with interesting technologies that change the world in a bigger and bigger way. And so I spent my operating career focused on finance, but in software companies. And I was attracted to my first sort of big company, DocuSign, because I just instantly believed that why would anyone use a piece of paper to do anything again?
There you go.
Because it doesn't have any knowledge embedded in it. How do you get behind technologies that can touch the largest number of people in the world? So I've always been fascinated with that theme. How do you get involved with things that have the biggest impact on the most people and change the way the world works?
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how are you creating impact now, and what's the motivation behind that impact?
I think it goes back to the other. It's the motivation is a couple of things. Number one, I just like to be involved in cool projects with cool people and learn. So I think it starts there. And then the next part is just like to see if I can have some impact with the entrepreneurs that I work with and help them follow their dreams. So I like that component as well. And at the end of the day, I do like things that leave the world better than we found it. And so I like to be involved in those types of projects as well. And that's across software things that were from my background or energy things that I do with different folks. And then another question you have is around AI.
Yes, we'll get to the AI. Yeah, we'll absolutely get to the AI question.
But yeah, there's some sort of competition in it. But really, it's just that I like being involved in really cool projects and cool things.
Cool.
It gets me up in the morning.
Well, that's very important, very important. What are you currently learning or listening to or reading these days?
Not one specific thing, but around AI, that's definitely something that I believe is going to change the way the world operates and touch all of us in a lot of different ways. And I think it's going to be the biggest change that any of us will have had in our lifetime.
That is true.
And it'll continue into the future. And it's going to create new business categories. It's going to reinvent existing business categories. And I think people are underestimating the impact when you start to think about generative AI versus people saying, oh, it's been around forever, which for sure it has when you think of big data sets and machine learning. But once you start to have AI that's coming up with things we couldn't think about, people, and bringing together information in a way that we couldn't synthesize or see trends, it's a completely different thing.
Very true.
So that's what I'm excited about to see. To that end, I just launched an AI fund of funds, and we're focused on finding the best managers who we think will be part of working with the best entrepreneurs to build the best companies that will disrupt things that we take for granted today or the large companies of today. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out over the next decade.
What's the real shift? In 2 years, how do you see AI having impacted or changed venture capital, fund of funds?
Sure. I think people are underestimating it. And I think in prior changes, things like, say, the internet, or if you look at Web3 and crypto, huge impact potentially. I think that's certainly the Web3 story is still to be written.
Yes.
I think those technologies are cool and we'll find great application. But with AI, I think we're going to see bigger, broader change, not over decades, but over 5 years, 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's going to be a much bigger, faster change than other technologies. And it's going to touch every company because they have to figure out new pricing models, how they integrate it into their sort of daily workforce lives, how they can be more productive, do more with less. Companies will be able to launch faster.
Yes.
It's this huge change that's going to happen, and being in front of it and being informed is what we should all be striving to do.
100%.
With AI, it's also a huge conversation in the public sector and then obviously private sector. When you think about every single Fortune 500 CEO globally, it's the number one thing they're thinking about. They don't know exactly what they need to do, but they do know they have to do something or they're going to be irrelevant.
Yes.
And really be threatening to their businesses and their business model. So it's just a theme that is at the top of everyone's minds. And I think rightly.
Yes, I agree. In the last question, prior to this one, you talked about your emerging manager program. If you'd like to share a little bit more about that, we'd be more than happy to touch on that a bit.
Sure. So in my firm, Acadian, we own and we built out over 8 years an emerging manager conference called RAISE. where we get about 700 funds that applied, which is the number from this year. And we had 168 AI funds. And so the idea is we're going to look for the best fund managers from ecosystems that you would expect, like Google with DeepMind, Meta, NVIDIA, Amazon, any companies that have huge data sets, and then invest behind the managers that we think are going to attract the best entrepreneurs. And so we've done our first close, and we're looking for managers to invest behind and help them build their firms. And then for us, long-term, be involved in the companies that break out and get signal, but overall just be a smarter investor, because we spend time immersing ourselves in what's happening in the sort of pre-seed and seed world. Oh,
that's great. So how do people contact you? LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn, certainly Mike Dinsdale, and then email mb@acadian.bc. But yeah, I'd love to talk to anyone who is interested.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, Mike Dinsdale from Arcadian VC, for being my guest on the Female VC Lab podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're like